Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I achieved this money encapsulation look. This was a very fun look for me to do. I haven't done a money encapsulated look before, so this is my first time doing it, but it actually turned out really good in my opinion. So the first thing that I'm doing is I'm starting out with a thin layer of clear on all of the nails, just as my base, and then we're going to go in and start encapsulating. So if you're curious in any of the products that I'm using, make sure you check down in the description box down below, just in case I forget to mention it in the video. But the clear that I'm using is the Entity 1 clear. I actually really love this company, this brand. Not a lot of people use it, so I don't know if it's just not popular or what's up with that. But I also am going in with my C&D number 8 brush. I don't know the exact name, but like I said, I'll have everything linked down below, so make sure you check down there. And then the practice hand that I'm using is a flexi finger flexi hand in the color 306, and I love this hand. If you've seen my last few videos, then you'll know that I've been raving about it because I love it so much. But I also have a coupon code for this company, so if you are interested, my coupon code is SID10 with 2 D's. So if you guys get confused, just check down there. But yeah. So now I'm gonna go in with these silver and white pink kind of flakes and some gold leaf, and I'm just going to apply that all over the nail to kind of create like a background. So you want the background to be clear, but I also wanted to add like a little bit extra so it wasn't just clear and money. So I added these, I think they're flakes, I don't even know what to call them. They're like little shards of like plastic, and they kind of reflect in different colors, so it looks kind of white sometimes, and it looks kind of silverish, then it looks a little like orangish or pink, and then purple and blue. So it has like a really cool reflection to it in the light. But yeah, I just went in with that and with some gold leaf, and I placed that down before I went in with the money. So before I started filming, I cut out $1, and then I also burned the edges of the pieces that I could. And so now what you're gonna see me do is lay a small bead of acrylic, and then I'm gonna place on the piece that I want on the nail. And then I'm going to lay it down with my fingers and with some tweezers, and just kind of hold it there until the acrylic dries and the piece is stuck in place. It may take a few beads just because, like, if you can see, like, some of the leaves were like lifting up a little bit while other parts are laying flat, so you may have to go in with like smaller beads to make sure the whole thing is laying flat. You want it as flat as possible, or else you'll end up with a very bulky look at the end, which is not what you want. So keep that in mind. But as far as like figuring out how I want it to lay the money, I cut out pieces that looked interesting, and I got some like inspo from Long Hair Pretty Nails and The Nail Couple. Those are the two that I looked at the most, and then I also went on Pinterest and kind of looked and seen how people were placing the money, and then I went off of that, cut out those pieces, and then kind of created some of my own like placement for those. So that's what I did there, but it was actually really easy, guys. Don't overthink it. And then once you're done putting the money in the nail and encapsulating that, well, it's not encapsulated yet, but once you're done placing that on the nail, then you're gonna go in with your gold leaf, and you're just gonna place that randomly all around the nail, and that's just gonna fill in some of those empty places. So if you feel like there's an empty space and you don't want gold leaf there, or you don't have like a piece of money to put there, don't be afraid to go in with like pieces of the flakes again. You can do this all kind of together. It doesn't have to be the flakes first and then the money and then the gold leaf. You can kind of do it in your own little, I don't know, order, but just make sure it ends up how you like it. So now we're gonna start the encapsulation. So I'm going back in with a clear bead, and I'm just going to place that around the cuticle area and push it up into the cuticle and then drag it down. Now, when doing this, I watched a nail career education video, and she mentioned that if you want the acrylic to look really clear, you want to make sure that the whole bead is wet and that you don't have any of those white pieces like the dry acrylic in the ball, because then that can create like a frosted look, and that's not what we want. We want it to be pretty clear. So just keep that in mind. That's a tip that they said. So I tried to make sure that the acrylic was all wet by the time I started to play with it and move it around the nail. I also wanted to mention I'm not perfect with bead placement yet, or bead consistency, and so I try to work in about 3 beads. That's kind of what I stick to. But as you can see, like when I'm encapsulating here, I'm working in a bunch of different little beads. So if you can't stick to like 1 or 2 or 3 beads, don't worry about it. Just try to make sure that you're keeping your application as smooth as possible, so you don't have to go in and file too much. But it's okay if you aren't able to, like if you use more than the set amount of beads. So keep that in mind. And then also keep in mind that I also cut out a lot of what I'm actually doing, because of the fact that the video would be an hour long if I didn't. So it also takes me a while to do this. So at this point, all of the clear acrylic that I laid down before had dried. So I am going in with small beads of acrylic to lay down these little flake things, but I don't really show that too much in the video. And also these were actually kind of hard to lay down just because they clump together. So if you can see, like I'll lay it down and then it will be a whole big chunk of it. So you just kind of have to like lay down what you can, pick up what you can, and then lay down like and flick away what you don't need, because they're kind of like they clump together real weird. So if the piece that you place on the nail is a little too long, you can go in after you have laid it down with the acrylic and just clip off the edge as close to the edge as possible. So as you can see, that's what I'm doing, and it'll be perfectly fine. Another thing to remember when you are doing encapsulations is that you want to make sure whatever you're encapsulating is completely covered, because when you go in with your file later, you can actually end up filing it away. So I know it may look like in some places that it's not completely covered, but I promise you it is, because when I went in and filed, I didn't file away any of the dollar. So with this nail, you're going to actually see me place the money on first and then go in with the flakes and the gold leaf. And the reason I did this was actually because I wasn't paying attention, and I watch Bailey Sarian, the like makeup mystery Monday videos when I'm doing my nails. So I was like into it and I wasn't paying attention. But like I said, it doesn't matter the order that you go in. So it ended up working just as fine. It looks the same as the other nails. So just remember that you can do it whatever way you want to do it. So as you'll see in a few seconds, with this nail I actually did like dollar pieces on top of one another rather than doing them in two separate places of the nail. So because of that, I put some of the gold leaf like over the first piece that I laid down, just to kind of enhance the background. I thought it would look better, which it actually did. So just kind of play around with it. Now theoretically, you probably don't want to go in with your finger and press down the money pieces, because you could be compromising the product with like the oils on your fingers and stuff. But in this case, it was a little bit more convenient sometimes than working with the tweezers or another nail tool, so I did it. And also this is like on a practice hand, it's not a real set, so I don't quite know if it will cause an issue like if you were doing this on a person. But just keep that in mind, that like touching product, it can compromise the product, one, but you can also develop a sensitivity to the product, so you don't want to be allergic to the stuff that you're working with daily. So just keep that in mind. I'm really bad at that. I touch monomer daily in and out, so I probably am developing a sensitivity to it, which is really bad because I haven't been a nail tech for more than a few months. But it is what it is. Just keep that in mind. And I just wanted to say quickly, if you guys have any tips or tricks or any advice for me or for other people, let me know down below. Like, I want this to be a positive learning nail community that I'm creating here on YouTube. I don't want anybody to feel like it's my way or the highway, or that I'm necessarily trying to teach anybody anything, because I'm not. I'm still a beginner. I still barely know what I'm doing. I'm still learning, evolving every day. I'm changing up how I do things daily. So I understand where a lot of you guys are, and I'm sure you guys understand where I'm at and have some tips and tricks that can help me as well as others. So just feel free to open up and help each other. Like, I just want this to be a positive learning community, like I said. So keep that in mind. Feel free, share down below. Love you guys. So I wanted to mention that I'm also trying to keep in mind my structure when I'm encapsulating. So I am trying to keep in mind of my apex and making sure that I have the right structure that goes from the cuticle to the apex and then down to the end of the nail, because I do not want these nails to snap off. Even though it's on a mannequin hand, if it was on a real person, you know, you would want it to be strong and stable. And so I am using this clear bead when I'm encapsulating to build my apex and everything, or try to, because I'm still not good at that, but I'm getting better actually. But yeah, so I'm using this time to do that. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to file. I forget what this bit is called. I do not know the names of my bits really well, but this is a ceramic bit, and I'm just using that to go in and to seal up the cuticle, as well as just smooth out any of those lumps and bumps. You want this to be not bulky. Now, it took me a long time to file. I don't show really even close to how long it took me to file, because I did make it a little bulky. I think just like in between me encapsulating and having all that stuff in the nail, and then not keeping in mind how I was placing the acrylic, it kind of bulked up the shape a little bit. So it did take me a minute to actually get it down to a decent point. So you'll see at the very end, because I did cut out a lot of the filing, you won't be able to see it now, but at the very end you'll see like how the shape turned out. I think it turned out pretty good, but just keep in mind when you're encapsulating and stuff, like, you are going to have to go in and file, and if you don't want to have to file for a million years, then make sure you're keeping in mind of the shape and the way you're placing everything. So personally, I like to go in with whatever bit I'm going to use with my e-file, and then I go in with my 80 by 80 files at the end to like define the actual shape of the nail. I would use my e-file to kind of remove the bulk and to get like that apex and cuticle area right, and then to do the shape, I use my hand file. So once I'm pretty happy with how everything turned out after I file, I go in with a buffing block, and this is just going to prepare the nail for top coat. When you do gel, you obviously want to do this. This will help with smoothing out some of those lines that you created when you went in with your files, so it is important to do this. After we're done filing, I'm going to go in with my Scrub Fresh from C&D and a lint-free wipe, and I'm just going to wipe all the dust off of the nail plate. I also, because this is a silicone hand, they do attract a lot of dust. I go in with a baby wipe and just remove all of that dust with the baby wipe and a nail brush, and it works perfectly fine for me, as you can see. Now we're going to go in with top coat. So the top coat I'm using is the Madam Glam No White top coat, and I'm just going to place this on top of the nails, and then you will also see me doing this underneath the nail, and that is just to make sure that I'm getting the nail as clear as possible. Now I'm going to go in with my LED light, and this is from Sensational. I got it from Walmart for about $10. I actually really like this lamp for my hands. I wouldn't do it like on a person, it wouldn't be as great, but anyway, this is the finished look. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Remember that I post videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so stay tuned for my next videos. I love you guys. Have a good night.